It's a date Leafs fans circled the day Matt Sundin joined the Vancouver Canucks. Tonight, one of the franchise's great captains returns to Toronto. Tonight, he makes an unfamiliar turn into the visitors' dressing room. He will battle against the blue and white for the very first time in 13 seasons. Will Leafs Nation stand to welcome Matt Sundin and applaud all that he did for their beloved buds? That is up for debate. What isn't up for debate is how Brian Burke would love to hand his old club a loss in his new home. Leafs-Canucks tonight. A landmark night at the Air Canada Centre. Not only does the building itself turn 10 years old today, but Captain Matt Sundin, former captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, is in the building for the very first time as a member of the opposition in more than 13 seasons. Welcome everybody to Leaf Nation HQ. I'm Jody Vance. Glad you could join us for Molson Canadian Leaf Nation pregame show presented by Tim Hortons. The guys are here ready to talk about tonight's game, the Vancouver Canucks and the Toronto Maple Leafs at Matt Sundin's return. Joe Bowen, who will be calling the game on AM 640 Toronto Radio. Mark Morrow, our hockey analyst, and our senior reporter, Paul Henrik, in the building. These are the perfect guys to ask about their Matt Sundin memories. Sundin really was some great ones in this building, Joe. Do you have a personal favorite?
Well, personally, I'm here for Kyle Wellwood night. But anyway, there's all kinds. And really, the way he carried this team on his shoulders for many, many nights, one that I'll never forget is Game 6 against Carolina. Leafs facing elimination. Last minute of play. Goaltender out. Matt Sundin scores with 22 seconds left. And it may have been the biggest goal that he scored as far as the team was concerned. Now, the bad news was Martin Gelinas scored in overtime and ended the Leafs' run at going to the Stanley Cup Finals. But it was a great moment by a great player who was able to do that night in and night out.
Now, go ahead, Mark. And I just want to wonder, and I'll pose it out there, do we criticize Matt for not waiving his no-trade contract a year ago, February? Because I know some of the fans will be upset.
No, he firmly believed that team could make the playoffs, and he believed that as the captain of that team, and because he had the prerogative that he did not want to jump ship, I stand by his decision.
Absolutely. What is so wrong with wanting to stay on the team? He should be celebrated for that fact. And quite frankly, as Brian Burke talks about it now with a couple of the Maple Leafs players, he had a no-trade clause that he earned. So he had every right to stay, whether the team wanted him or not, and he wanted to be a part of this. He wanted to turn the ship around, bring it to the playoffs. You've got to applaud him for that, not criticize him.
So there's been a lot of debate on what fan reaction will be like tonight, but if today at the game skate was any indication, there was 1,500 kids in the stands, and when he hit the ice, the ovation was extraordinary.
I think the ovation is going to be great, and it should be. And he deserves it. He was a great captain and a great ambassador for this city.
Absolutely. There's no way at all they should be booing him. How big the ovation is should be the question mark. 12
points in 17 games. Should we expect to see Matt come into a season this late in the season, Joe, and dominate it the way we know he can? You're an awfully long way behind when you miss all of training camp.
Yeah, and the other thing is he's on a team where he isn't the big gun. I mean, the Sundin twin Burrows, there's a lot of firepower up front for that hockey club, and that's one of the reasons why he's going to be able to kind of sift in there. But wait till he gets to the playoffs. I mean, there isn't a big game player in this league over the years than Matt Sundin. Vancouver Canucks are going to be in great shape. That goaltender with him and the talent that they have, look out.
And that, he had to develop some chemistry too. Sorry, Paul, to interrupt you, but you got to think he's going to a brand new team. He doesn't know anybody with the exception of Kyle Wellwood, so he's got to figure out how they play, how he can interact with them. It was a big learning curve he had to undertake. When you're doing that mid-season, that's a tough thing to do.
Well, there's a real buzz in this building as we look around. We know this city is excited about the return of Matt Sundin. The Canucks are excited, and so too the Toronto Maple Leafs. We had a chance this morning to speak with Jason Blake and Curtis Joseph, and they realized that Matt's return to Toronto is an event unto itself.
It's a bit of a circus for sure, but it's well-deserved. It's Matt Sundin, and he's a great leader, great guy, and he deserves all the compliments he gets and all the ovations he gets.
You know, if not the best player to come out of Toronto, he's one of them, and he's one of the best players ever to play the game. And his leadership, I think, is one thing that I think doesn't go unnoticed, but I think that's obviously a big thing, being the captain of probably one of the hardest places to play as far as media and everything else. So, I mean, he's a great person, and I think that means more than just being a great hockey player. I think, you know, he's He's just. I mean, I was only here for a year, but he's just. I mean, it was everything I expected he would be.
We talked a lot, and even last year when he was going through, all the stuff here, we had talked, and it's always good when you're going through tough times, like I did in Detroit, to hear from your friends encouragement, and they're behind you no matter what happens, and we all go through things in our career that are going to be adverse, and it's how you handle them is a testament to your character.
I mean, I don't think there's one fan in this building that should boo Matt Sundin. What he's given to the organization, what he's given to the city of Toronto. Not only that, the guy was all about passion and I mean, when he played the game, he left everything on the ice every single shift. I know that, obviously they didn't win a Stanley Cup, but I mean, it wasn't for the lack of effort on his part, and there's not one person in this building that should boo him. He was a true Toronto Maple Leaf for 13 years here.
Sundin would join this team with 19 road games left as far as the Canucks are concerned, and Joe, for a man who grew up and was weaned in the Eastern Conference, not a bad time to join Vancouver, given all the travel they do.
Yeah, it is. It had to be a little bit different, but I'm sure that he's very comfortable with doing it. He's certainly in a position where he's going to fit right into their offensive mold. And as the season progresses and he gets a little bit more comfortable, he's a point-a-game player, and I wouldn't be surprised he's that and some more with the Canucks.
We're going to take a quick break here, and then when we come back, we're going to check in with Andy Petrillo, who is down at ice level with the latest on Sundin Watch, and we'll hear from the man himself. That's next on the pregame show.